The first thing you learn in our building's garage is that concrete doesn't give. My parking spot was a cruel joke of architectural design, wedged between a massive support pillar and the space belonging to apartment 7B. For years it was fine, a tight squeeze but manageable. Then 7B was sold, and my manageable squeeze became a daily test of my patience and flexibility. The new owner, a man I only knew as Mr. Vance, bought a sport utility vehicle that was far too large for the spot, a gleaming black beast that he clearly worshipped. He parked it with surgical precision, the tires kissing the painted white line, leaving me mere inches to work with. I'm a graphic designer, I work with tiny measurements all day, but this was ridiculous. Getting out of my own car meant breathing in, squeezing through a gap that wasn't meant for a human, and performing a clumsy climb over my own center console. It was annoying for me, but it was agony for my dad, Arthur. He's a retired carpenter with a knee that clicks and groans like an old floorboard, and watching him try to navigate that sliver of space was heartbreaking. The final straw wasn't the constant inconvenience, though. It was the day my dad, a man who believes in the quiet power of politeness, happened to catch Mr. Vance in the garage. He just asked, plain and simple, if he wouldn't mind leaving a few more inches. Vance didn't even look at him. He just smirked while polishing a smudge off his chrome grille and said, "If you can't handle the space, maybe you shouldn't be driving." I saw the flicker of humiliation in my dad's eyes when he told me later, and in that moment, the silent war began. My first thoughts were juvenile, a key scratch, a loose valve cap, but I immediately dismissed them. A small black-domed security camera was mounted on the ceiling, its single eye watching our two spots perfectly. Whatever I did had to be subtle, untraceable, and most importantly, it had to look like an act of God. I started observing. I noted the way Vance would wipe down his car every single morning, the way he would inspect the paint from every angle. His car wasn't just transportation, it was his pride. That was his weakness. For a week, I studied the garage like it was a blueprint, the concrete, the wiring conduits, the plumbing pipes, and then I saw it. Directly above the hood of his parking spot, there was a small, insulated pipe running along the ceiling, part of the building's climate control system. I noticed a faint, dark discoloration on the concrete around it, a ghost of moisture. An idea, slow and methodical, began to form. I went online and researched our building's specific heating and cooling unit. The system, I learned, was interconnected by vertical stacks. My apartment was directly 2 floors above his parking space. The plan was as simple as it was brilliant. That night, the game began. I went to the control panel for my apartment system and nudged the humidity setting up by a mere 15%. It wasn't enough to make my own apartment feel damp, not enough to be noticeable at all, but I gambled it would be just enough to change the dew point on that one section of cold pipe in the warmer garage. The next morning, I watched from the stairwell as Vance came down. He did his usual walk around and stopped. On the center of his perfectly polished hood was a single tiny drop of water. He wiped it away with a microfiber cloth, annoyed but dismissive. The next day there were 3 drops. The day after that, a small puddle. The water wasn't just water, it was full of minerals from the concrete dust in the air, and when it evaporated, it left a hard, chalky residue that etched into the paint's clear coat. He started cleaning it frantically, but the drip was relentless. He complained to management. They sent a maintenance guy who stared at the pipe for 5 minutes, shrugged, and said, "It's not a leak, it's just condensation." It happens. Vance's frustration turned to paranoia. He started parking with a ridiculous plastic tarp over his hood, which earned him a notice from the building for violating garage rules. He was fighting a ghost, and the ghost was winning, 1 drop at a time. The psychological toll was the real masterpiece. His pride and joy was being slowly, methodically ruined by an enemy he couldn't identify. The breaking point came when he confronted my dad in the hallway, his face red, accusing him of doing something. My dad, bless his heart, played the part of a confused old man to perfection. "A drip," he said, his voice full of manufactured concern. "Oh, that's just terrible. You'd think for what we pay here they'd fix these things." Vance, with no proof and looking like a raving lunatic, was left sputtering in the hall. About a month later, a for sale sign appeared on the pillar by spot 7B, not the apartment, just the parking spot. I dipped into my savings and bought it through the Homeowners Association without a second thought. The day Mr. Vance finally pulled his stained, tarnished vehicle out of the garage for the last time, I went to my thermostat and set the humidity back to normal. The dripping stopped. That evening, I parked my car in my old, narrow spot, leaving the premium one I just bought empty for my dad. He came down to the garage to see it, a wide grin on his face. He walked over to the now empty spot 7B and looked up at the perfectly dry pipe on the ceiling. Then he looked at me, his eyes twinkling. You know, he said, tapping the pillar with a knowing knuckle. For a carpenter, I always did know a thing or two about airflow and condensation. To be honest, that little bit of extra humidity was doing wonders for my knee. I just stared at him, speechless. He had known. He had known the entire time, and he had played his part perfectly. The victory wasn't just mine, it was ours.